assessment. This is a page from a learning log. Just like I said, just reflection about what you've done online, and it's all there online. The great thing about this program is you don't have a lot of bulky material to carry around. You have one folder that tells you how to kind of use the website and how to get around everything, and that's it. All the modules are there, and they're kept up to date with the current information that's out there, so nothing ever really gets dated. It's constantly being reviewed. You can use this area here as a portfolio, so you can actually decide, you can actually keep track of all the things that you've done and how far along in those units you are, and actually see maybe some of the gaps that you might have missed. We're talking about it being multimedia. There are a lot of different audio and visual clips on the web, on the MPQH online program. This one, for example, is a head teacher, an actual head teacher, talking about one aspect of headship. So what I really like about this, it is the people they use on here are real people, not made-up situations, talking about real things in headship. Again, another module with all the different bits, with being able to move through it quite easily. Evaluating your learning. Now, the part that I used quite a bit was a blog. There is a section where the training heads can create their own blog, their own online diary. And I used that quite a bit. This is what I made public. And this is where I had a chance to reflect on the things that I was doing in the MPQH program. But at the same time, because I had just began a headship, I was able to reflect on how that actually worked together and how it is as a new head and all those things that come up, and ask questions and also respond to people, because people can respond to it and you can ask each other questions and actually have those conversations. This is in the Talk to Learn section of the MPQH program, very much like what Naomi was talking about earlier. You have places where you get to talk to other people all over the country. Hot seating being where they have a think piece that is created by a learning facilitator and asking questions about the piece that you've just read and reflecting on that and how it affects you in your context. We forget that we are in very different contexts, all of us, and we sometimes think of only the little area in which we work in and actually don't realize that actually in other parts of the country things can be done a bit differently. So having those experiences and those talks was very informative. You have the school placements. One of the things part of the MPQH program is that you do a school placement in another context. So I'm primary. Now for me that was a bit difficult because I'm primary. I worked in rural schools, I worked in inner city schools, I worked in schools that were almost all white, I worked in schools that were all a different ethnic minority. I've worked in schools that were 150 children all the way to schools that were 650 children. Had a wide breadth in the primary age. However, I had no experience at all, not even for myself, in the high schools, in the secondary stage. So I actually chose my placement to be in the secondary. And the project that I worked on, a bit similar, that we had to pick a project, but mine had to be in a different context, was on transition from year 6s to year 7s. And we actually looked at the transition of not the children, but the parents that were involved in moving children on from year 6 to year 7 and helping to allay their fears as their children moved on. You have peer learning, which everyone can form a group. You can form your own groups. They do not tell you which group you need to be in, who you need to work with. You decide which groups you want to work with and on what you want to work on together. The learning facilitators. This is a group of people, the first of their kind. They are dedicated to the MPQH program and they're experts in their fields. They all have been primary heads or secondary heads, and some of them are practicing now, some have retired, and they all have very unique qualities to help in all the different standards for headship. I've really felt that they were very influential in my own learning online. They would ask very thought-provoking questions and made me think about my own practice and how to move it on. I've liked them so much now that I'm actually a learning facilitator for the new intake for MPQH. And for me, being able to find the information through the Leadership Library, which I think Jonathan talked about earlier, has been a really good experience. Overall, I would suggest that anyone that is at that point as a deputy headship, assistant headship, in those areas of leadership, really think carefully about the MPQH program. You might say you might not want to be head now, but you might actually be ready for it. And this program and the way it's developed and the way it has been put together has been an exceptional experience for me. Thank you.
Hopefully we've given you an overview of the work of the National College for School Leadership, and also you've had an opportunity to understand about how our programmes work in a bit more detail. It may be that you have some questions for us, and we'd be very pleased to take those. Yes?
How did the last speaker find her terminology was different from the indigenous?
I'll ask her to answer that.
It is a little bit different, but it wasn't so much so that I found it to be a problem with my learning experience. I'm assuming you're also talking about my teaching experience as well. With the teaching experience, you really do learn how to change it, and it's not that different from the American terminology.
Did you explain your final terminal courses?
I'm sorry, say that again.
He said, did you explain to... Yeah, he was saying a different word for...
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes? Yes, it is, but there is a fee, and we'd be happy to talk to you about that, and we do have an arrangement with various associations. Any other questions? Okay, if there's no more questions, thank you very much for attending, and if you want to ask us anything just now more privately, we'll be more than happy to talk to you. Thank you.